I've been a Mario fan for most of my life. This was my Halloween costume when I was 4 years old. Pretty obvious. I've played my fair share of games and watched a couple episodes of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show as a kid.
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game.
So I'd consider myself to still be somewhat in the target demographic for this movie, and someone who can see both sides of the argument, being a young kid who's just watching the movie for the first time, and also someone who's had their fair share of experience with the franchise and seeing what Illumination can do with it. I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes and saw that the reviews were surprisingly mixed. Going into my theater with a couple of friends, I had pretty low expectations for it. The Grinch, an Illumination movie, is probably my least favorite movie because of how it ruins a beloved character for me, so I was a bit cautious. But once all the dust settled, it was a blast. This movie is all it really needed to be. One of the biggest critiques I've heard from the grumpy old Rotten Tomato critics is how the plot is paper thin. To that, I say, it's a 90-minute children's movie about a game franchise whose story is usually summed up in a 2-minute cutscene. Going into the film and expecting a star-studded plot that's going to win all the writing awards is already a mistake. Nintendo made this movie that didn't stray too far off and fall into the Illumination death trap of having a 30-minute unnecessary subplot in the middle, which was nice, and gives me the smallest glimmer of hope for Illumination as a company going forward. The plot in and of itself is very simple. Short but sweet little adventure. You don't have to sit down with a pen and paper and understand everything that's going on. Another critique I heard was that the pacing was too fast. Personally, that doesn't bother me in the slightest, and it just means that no scene drags on for too long. Speaking of scenes, there's only really one scene I would cut out, and that's the scene at the beginning of the movie where Luigi fights off a dog for like 5 minutes. That's the only really filler scene in the movie, and I could have gone without it. But for Illumination standards, having one scene that's filler is a step up. Now on to the characters. Let me just get this out of the way. I love how they look in this movie. I know it's hard to mess up an already recent 3D model of a character, but the little additions of the shirt collars, and I want to say they made Mario's facial features bigger, but that could just be me. All the character designs transferred pretty well onto the big screen, and the characters don't necessarily feel over or under designed. Now on to what I know you're all eager to hear, the voice acting. I know that when the cast announcement first came out, the internet first lost their minds. But once you've made it maybe 20 minutes into the movie, they're actually pretty good. Anya Taylor-Joy's Peach was portrayed with a good amount of royalty, but also charm. Charlie Day's Luigi worked better than I thought, probably because I only know him from this one meme. But by far the standout for me was Jack Black as Bowser. Mwah! Chef's kiss to the casting directors on that one. The whole Peaches, 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 Peaches song was a little out of place, I felt, but the voice acting and singing was surprisingly a great fit for Bowser. Alright, this wouldn't be a Mario movie review without talking about him. It was fine. Going into the movie, I had only really heard Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. And
man, I spent hours of my life stomping Koopas.
But once I've sat through the entire movie, it was fine. Not Charles Martinet levels of Mario, but he was fine for the 90 minutes he has. I'll even admit that hearing, "It's me, Mario, wahoo!" for an hour and a half might be a bit much. So I don't really mind Chris Pratt's more chill voice. They cut a surprising amount of his lines. They cut out Let's-a Go when he's in the Donkey Kong fight, and they also cut out Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. Thank God. But they still did keep the meow, so... Beyond that, the overall look of the movie is something I enjoyed. It's colorful, as a Mario movie should be, but not overly colorful to where it's kinda corny. The score is a chef's kiss, featuring orchestral remixes of decades-old music, and some pre-existing songs that, albeit were a bit weird to include in a kids movie in 2023, like Take On Me, Holding Out for a Hero, and my personal favorite, Thunderstruck. All three of those made me actually bop my head in the theater. As far as visuals go, it fits with the new standard of being great visually. I saw this in 3D and that made it look pretty good. Really, some of the only redeeming qualities of most Illumination films are the visuals, and as per usual, they were stunning. I also like how they stuck in their lane. I'm glad this was exactly as it was presented as, that being the Mario movie, not the Nintendo movie. It could have very easily turned into how many Nintendo characters can we fit into 90 minutes, and I'm glad it didn't. I can see them using this as their Iron Man and making a whole Nintendo universe that all culminates in the Super Smash Bros. Movie or something. And if they're all like this one, I'd be fine with it. I'm glad it all wasn't, hey look, it's Link, and it was more, hey look, it's Baby Mario. Is this movie perfect, however? No. There's only a handful of things I would change about it, so to get them off my chest, here you go. One of my few complaints is how Luigi was just kinda absent throughout the second act of the movie. Like, he's in it for the first bit, and then he gets kidnapped, and then he comes back at the end of the movie and just picks up where he left off. There's a little reunion scene, but I would have extended the movie's runtime by like 5 minutes to add a scene where Luigi learns about what Peach and Mario's been up to. My one final critique with this movie is how they spent like the first 2 minutes of the movie just kind of clowning on the Charles Martinet voice. They promised a cameo as soon as the casting was announced, and they delivered that in the first 5 minutes. I'd be perfectly fine with that if his cameo wasn't included in the middle of like 3 different comments about how the accent is a bit much. I do get how the bubbly Mario voice would have been a bit much for the whole movie, but come on. Personally, I think he should have gotten a bit more time in the movie, since he's just an all-around great guy, and they shouldn't have just clowned on the old voice for 2 minutes at the start. To draw this video to a close, would I recommend this movie to people? Sure. If you've played at least one Mario game in your life, I'd recommend going to see it. Even if it's just on a whim, packing some of your friends into a car and going to watch the movie, or getting some of the character names wrong. When Cat Mario first came onto the screen, my friend sitting next to me very loudly went, "Raccoon Mario!" So that was pretty funny. Whether you're a longtime fan or someone who just goes to get a hot dog from the movie theater, or if you're like me and somewhere in the middle. Yo, what's good, Vin Diesels? We're doing a Cineplex hot dog review. Better than I thought. 7 out of 10. So far, I haven't seen anyone leaving the theater with pitchforks in the air and rioting. So what's the worst that can happen? Thanks for watching the video. I hope I got it up quick enough so that the entire internet hasn't forgotten this movie existed. My next video is going to come out soon, I just need a bit more time on it. It's a big one, like 2,500 words longer than my last one. But until then, thanks for watching, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe because if I hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year, I'll make a tier list including every single cool math game ever. As for now, I've been IronBan99, and I'll see you later.